Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, out here today to bring you my course Loadout from the Cuyval Dar 2-day advanced night vision course. If you've been following along with my night vision series, as I've been going through these different courses, I've basically been upgrading largely capability. It usually comes with upgrading cost as well. This being basically kind of the Loadout for that third installment. This advanced night vision course by Cuyval Dar, if you're unfamiliar, pretty cool little training company. If you're like, I don't understand what that means, that name, most people don't, unless you totally geek out on Star Wars. It's in reference to the 100 Mandalorians selected by Jango Fett to basically go train all the clone troopers. Kind of cool little backstory there. But for this course, here is all the stuff I ended up using. This 2-day course, it ended up dropping temperature-wise, so like right off the bat, speak to layers real quick. I ended up using both this Beyond Certa level 7 jacket and then these Beyond Certa level 7 pants. Pants are really nice in that they zip all the way up the sides, making it really easy to take on and off over boots. And then on top of that, they actually have belt loops. So I was able to basically still wear my battle belt, so I've access to all my gear, and at the same time be warm. And then just kind of transportation back and forth, especially in inclement weather. Ended up snowing on us at least one day, like solid day of snowing, and being able to move gear back and forth and have it actually waterproof is pretty handy. So ended up using this right here. This is their CC12, I believe, by Prometheus Design Works. And it's basically this ruggedized bag that'll hold, I believe, like essentially like a 12-gallon tote. So you can use it obviously without the tote, but with the tote, it gives it structure and form and allows you to throw everything in here, zip everything up, pretty much bomb-proof, waterproof, all that stuff. So here we are with my loadout from this 2-day advanced night vision course. During that course, I ended up using this belt setup by Arbor arms, similar to kind of a lot of battle belts, different layers to it essentially, and you have an inner belt right here. Basically, it goes through all your belt loops on your pants, and then it has female Velcro, which marries up to the male Velcro on the inside of this belt, this being their non-padded version. Then of course you have a Cobra buckle up front, makes it really easy to take it on and off. So being able to basically have it set up like this was also really handy, because when it got really cold and I'm like, I need to put on those Certa level 7 pants, basically you just take this thing off, Cobra buckle, take this guy out of the belt loops on my pants, put those Certa pants on, back through the belt loops, clip this guy back in, good to go. The male female Velcro between here, basically once you line it up and clip it in, really good job as far as if you're active and dynamic, stays in place, no issues. Coming around the side, I have 2 of the Emdom universal pistol magazine pouches for my Glock 17 mags, and then right here, they're universal rifle magazines. I'll touch more on this later, but for 5.56, I was shooting these Tango Down Arc mags. Then back here is the, I believe it's their Responder IFAK by Live with the Creed. Really nice, low profile, pretty much just bare essentials that you need in a IFAK. And then coming over here, we have the holster that I was using. This holster I was using is is one of the holsters made by Blackpoint Tactical. While it doesn't have active retention, it has very positive retention. So when you're holstering, you get that really solid click. You know it's secure in there and it's not going to end up coming out, especially if you start sprinting, anything along those lines. The other thing I really like about Blackpoint Tactical is they can make whatever holster you need, and it's pretty painless. Rather than trying to find some crazy numbering structure with like Safariland, even though I like their ALS holsters, Blackpoint Tactical, it's like, yes, this gun, right-handed, no cant, this light, this laser, this optic, whatever it may be, makes it really easy. But this is the belt setup I ran during that course. As far as kind of the PPE, personal protective equipment, I was using these guys right here, which are my Smith Director Elite. They're their RX, as well as ballistic lenses. Worked great for me. And then for hearing protection, just went with some passive hearing protection. EP something, I always forget, there's a million different SKUs, but basically SureFire's in-ear hearing protection. And then because we were ultimately culminating in this 2-day advanced course, going through 2-man CQB in a shoot house, probably want some ballistic protection. Hopefully you don't need it, but I ended up running this right here. This is brand new plate carrier by Whiskey 24. It's pretty cool. It actually has a lot of kind of features built into it that I did not use, but I'll eventually end up doing a full review on it later. Pretty sweet plate carrier though, and I definitely appreciate that the plate bag actually fits like 10 by 12 plates, not slop, and yeah, worked out well for me. Which brings us to both my helmet as well as the nods I was using. This being kind of the third installment in my night vision series with respect to equipment and gear, scaling those capabilities. So with respect to the helmet that everything was mounted on, rather than just a bump helmet, was using this. It's a ballistic helmet by Hardhead Veterans. Back here it actually has a dial so you can kind of adjust it, and plenty of adjustment in the actual suspension system too. And then some kind of just vanilla pads on the inside. I will say as a helmet, while definitely an increase from a like bump helmet like that ProTech I was wearing, definitely a lot heavier, not necessarily more comfortable, in part because of how heavy it is and not like the most cush padding system inside this helmet, but absolutely worked. But again, going back to increasing capability, was actually running dual tubes. So I had 2 of the, I believe they're the Viper PVS-14C. Essentially it's just reference to the housing. Ultimately they are PVS-14 tubes made by L3 Filmless White Phosphorus Gen 3. Massive, massive upgrade in capability, and yeah, hugely so. Really, really, yeah. Can't overstate how big of a capability increase going from that single PVS-14 to basically dual tubes. Now granted, this entire setup was arguably pretty heavy between the weight of this ballistic helmet coupled with basically the housings, everything like that, as opposed to something that is actually set up as a dedicated dual tubes, but you also end up with some flexibility in running a system like this. And this is what I ended up using for that course. As far as pistols go, I was shooting this, kind of my tried and true Gen 3 Glock 17, my old duty pistol. And on top of it, again, had the 507C X2, Holosun's basically little projected red dot, not enclosed emitter, but actually uses the ACSS Reticle. Pretty cool being able to drop it down to night vision settings or use it obviously daylight bright. And then for my IR laser as well as illuminator, use this SureFire X400 Vampire. Pretty amazing light, being able to go from white light or switch it over to IR light, and also be able to kind of move through settings. So depending on what you're looking to do, you can actually use just the IR illuminator, or you can use just the IR laser for active, like emitting engagement, or you can obviously have it synced to both of them. So as soon as you come up on target, you have both the IR illuminator as well as the laser. Pretty handy. As far as ammo goes, ammo is hard to find. Very fortunate, I was able to get some training ammunition from G9 Bullets, some 9mm. Well, they're known for making like amazing projectiles, like external hollow points, armor piercing, all kinds of things for like military and law enforcement. They're fortunate enough, or I was fortunate enough, for them to load up some training ammo, and I shot that through the course. Stuff did amazing, pistol did great. Which brings us to primary gun for the course. More or less the same gun, but 2 different calibers. So during day 1, I ended up shooting this right here. I had it all set up with light, laser, optic, go over that stuff in a second. side charger, this being their 10.5-inch 5.56. With it, I was shooting their 5.56 RC2 by SureFire. Really awesome can on there, and on the suppressed setting, probably the nicest suppressed 5.56 gun I've shot. Like, I don't know what they did, but they pretty much nailed it with respect to this upper, and paired with that can, pretty amazing. So I ended up shooting this with those Tango Down arc mags, and I believe it was IMI 5.56, just 55 grain ball ammunition. Worked great. Definitely really pleasant to shoot with that. For day 2, which was largely centered around the shoot house, I wanted to get some time in with the 300 Blackout. So 10.5-inch 300 Blackout, again, side charger. The gun was pretty much set up like this. SB Tactical, their folding brace over here. On it had the sling by Edgar Sherman Design. Then moving forward, a Aimpoint Micro T1 Scalarworks mount, able to get it up above everything so I could clear everything, shoot passive. And then right here, using a Steiner D-ball I2, I believe it is, basically a visible green laser as well as a infrared laser. And then for illumination, both visible as well as IR, using this right here. SureFire M600 Vampire with a tape switch. And that basically allowed me to switch back and forth between white light or infrared light. And on that D-ball, there's actually a button up top that you can press, or I also ran a tape switch to it too. And then moving on down, right here, I went ahead and put on the Q full Nelson silencer, their 30 cal silencer, direct thread, and then the True North Concepts grip stop, their small version. And then for 300 Blackout, even though it says 5.56 right on the magazine, I was using the SureFeed magazines. And then lastly, ammo-wise, using some Gorilla ammo, 147 grain, I believe it was, in this, and it ran flawlessly. Really pleasant to shoot, especially with a can over on suppressed setting. Thing did an awesome job. So big picture, how did all this gear do for me? Actually did a really good job. I really enjoyed shooting the BRN-180. The way I had it set up was pretty good. There were definitely little tweaks along the way. By way of example, initially when I was shooting the 5.56 upper, I didn't have a grip stop on that. I didn't move it over. And it's one of those things like going through, you're like, oh yeah, like switches, that's a big thing. And so basically not having kind of my switches set up ideally to where whether you have a grip stop or vertical grip or whatever, being able to just have something as a reference. And this definitely helped with that. But then even with that said, there's things where just being able to set up your switches to where like cross-compatible in the sense that one's set up similar to the other. Moving from day 1 to day 2, there were definitely times I struggled to like get my tape switch, and then started actually just activating the top button and little things like that. But nothing on the gear, more with respect to me and how I set up some of it. Definitely a massive capability increase with all of this stuff though. On the one hand, I will say with the D-ball I2 with this green laser, the cold destroyed that thing. Like I went through probably like 3 batteries in the course of those 2 days, and largely it was trying to use, and I don't even know if it was the emitter in there or like literally just dead batteries, but I feel like the green side of this, the green vis, like really takes a toll on the battery coupled with the cold. The upside though, this having both vis as well as IR is one, you can actually use that visible laser as far as engagement, but the other part of it is it allows you to get really good reps during the day, actually going through like switchology, using your different switches. So activating your green laser, getting those shots. So then when you move into nighttime and you're using active emitting your laser, you can actually, yeah, like you've already been working those switches. So you go from green during the day to IR at night, and you get all those really good reps during the day. You can get right into it. Switches though, it's always kind of a monster, and there's definitely something to be said for really well thought out switches. So on this, using the SureFire switch for this vampire, and then this other tape switch or this button up top for the D-ball, could get really tricky versus some of the integrated switch solutions. But overall, did a good job for me. Definitely massive increase in capability with respect to running those two PVS-14s. I mean, for one, from the initial class running like a Gen 2 Green Phos PVS-14, moving to a single white Phos L3 Filmless Gen 3 PVS-14, like that was big. But then going to dual tubes, that's really big. You have so much more information coming in, and those being white phosphorus, again, being able to just distinguish between things like clarity, resolution, things like that. And yeah, dual tubes is massive, especially being able to shoot this looking through like passively over here on the right side, or move it around and end up shooting passively on the left side. If you have a single tube, like that's not a thing. You're probably not going to end up doing that. And so that was absolutely a massive capability increase. So overall though, yeah, no, really happy with this loadout, especially on these guns, the BRN-180, and pretty stoked on it. Not down below as far as in YouTube, because they don't like gun links, but there will be a link, take you over to my site, and there'll be links to pretty much all the gear I used throughout this 2-day advanced night vision course. You can go over there and check out everything there. But if you appreciate my content and would like to support it, I would greatly appreciate it. Whether it's just liking and sharing videos, or going over to kitbadger.com, picking up KBAT target pads, stickers, things along those lines, or support me directly through Patreon. Definitely appreciate that. Helps me go out, create more videos for you guys, and get access to our Discord server, where I'm definitely active over there. Happy to answer your questions over there. And in addition to that, usually get to see videos before they are released. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Nobody get hurt, they said. Make one wrong move, man, you wake up dead. I exercise my lyrical style instead. Otherwise you're dead and gone and forgotten.